My dad married my ex the day I turned 18. It sounds like the start of a terrible joke, but for me, it was the start of a nightmare. The day I was legally an adult, the day I was supposed to be celebrating my freedom, was the day my dad signed a marriage certificate with Kevin, the boy who broke my heart just 6 months earlier. I remember my 18th birthday party. My friends were there, the music was loud, and the cake had 18 candles burning bright. Everyone was happy. Except me. I kept glancing at the door, hoping my dad would walk in. He'd promised. He'd sworn he wouldn't miss it. But he never showed. Instead, I got a text. A single, gut-wrenching photo. It was him and Kevin, both in suits, holding hands in front of a justice of the peace. The caption read, "Surprise. We're married!" My world just shattered. My relationship with my dad had been strained since my mom passed away. He became distant, cold. He disapproved of everything I did, everyone I liked. Especially Kevin. When I started dating Kevin my junior year, my dad called him a phase. He said Kevin was too flamboyant, too dramatic. "He's not right for you, Sarah," he'd say. I thought he was just being an overprotective father. Now I see it was something else entirely. Jealousy. After the breakup, I was a wreck. Kevin had ended it suddenly, saying he needed to find himself. I cried for weeks. My dad, for the first time in years, was actually there for me. He held me, told me I deserved better. He said he'd talk to Kevin, try to understand what happened. I was so grateful. I thought he was finally being my dad again. What a fool I was. He wasn't comforting his grieving daughter, he was gathering intel. He was moving in on the boy I loved, the boy he'd convinced me was wrong for me. The months after my birthday were a blur of anger and confusion. I moved out, got a tiny apartment with a friend, and cut off all contact. But they didn't make it easy. They would send me photos from their honeymoon in Paris, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, the same trip Kevin and I had dreamed of taking. They tagged me in posts, showing off their perfect new life in our family home, a home filled with memories of my mom. My dad even redecorated my childhood bedroom into a home gym for Kevin. Every post, every picture was a deliberate, calculated stab to the heart. I tried to move on. I focused on my studies, got a part-time job at a coffee shop, and started making new friends. But the betrayal hung over me like a dark cloud. How could my own father do this? How could Kevin, who once swore he loved me, go along with it? I felt like a character in a twisted play, and everyone was laughing at me. One day, about a year later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was my aunt, my dad's sister. She sounded frantic. "Sarah, you need to come to the hospital. It's your dad." My heart stopped. For all my anger, he was still my father. I rushed to the hospital, my mind racing. When I got there, my aunt pulled me aside. "He had a heart attack," she said, her voice trembling. "It's serious." I walked into the hospital room, and the sight was shocking. My dad looked so small and frail, hooked up to a dozen machines. And sitting by his bed, holding his hand, was Kevin. He looked up when I walked in, his eyes filled with a strange mix of fear and something else I couldn't quite place. "Sarah," he whispered. I just stood there, frozen. My dad's eyes flickered open. He saw me and tried to speak. "Sarah." I. He couldn't finish. A wave of guilt washed over me. What if these were his last moments? Could I live with myself if my last words to him were screamed in anger? I spent the next few days at the hospital, sitting in silence. Kevin was always there. He was surprisingly attentive, fetching water, talking to the nurses, updating family members. He was the perfect, doting husband. It made me sick. But during the long, quiet nights, I started to notice cracks in his perfect facade. I'd see him staring out the window, a lost look on his face. He'd jump every time his phone buzzed. He looked less like a happy newlywed and more like a prisoner. One evening, I found him in the hospital cafeteria, stirring a cup of coffee he wasn't drinking. I sat down opposite him. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Finally, I broke the silence. "Why, Kevin? Why did you do it?" He finally looked at me, and his eyes were full of tears. "He made me," he whispered. "Your dad, he had something on me. Something that would have ruined my life." It turned out, back when we were dating, Kevin had gotten into some trouble, something he was deeply ashamed of and had kept secret. My dad found out. He'd used that secret as leverage. It was a cruel, brilliant trap. He told Kevin to break up with me. Then, he offered him a deal, marry him, and the secret would stay buried forever. Kevin, young and terrified, saw no other way out. He was trapped. It was all a lie. The perfect marriage, the happy posts, the romantic trips. It was a performance, orchestrated by my father to hurt me and control Kevin. My dad hadn't found love, he bought it. He'd stolen my happiness and Kevin's freedom in one fell swoop. My dad slowly recovered. The day he was discharged, I was there. So was Kevin. In the car on the way home, my dad reached for Kevin's hand. "We'll get back to normal now, won't we?" he said, a smug smile on his face. Kevin pulled his hand away. "No," he said, his voice firm for the first time. "We won't. I'm done." He looked at me in the rearview mirror, and I gave him a small, encouraging nod. The secret my dad held over him wasn't powerful enough to keep him a prisoner forever. He had told me everything. That day, Kevin left. He walked away with nothing but the clothes on his back, but he was finally free. My dad was furious, then devastated, then, finally, alone. He had destroyed every important relationship in his life for a fantasy he couldn't maintain. As for me, I learned a powerful lesson. Sometimes, the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who hurt you the most. But I also learned about forgiveness. Not for my dad, not yet. But for myself, for being so blind. And for Kevin, for being a victim in his own way. The betrayal still stings, but it no longer defines me. I'm building a new life, one my father can't touch. A life based on truth, not on lies. And that is a freedom worth more than any birthday celebration. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing.